Hello and welcome to our Retire Early lifestyle. Welcome back, everyone. In our last video, we talked about why Americans are returning home in record numbers. Have you ever wondered why expats return home in record numbers? Well, today we're giving you the tactical BS detector. You're going to need it so you don't become one of those statistics. We're going to break down the 5 massive red flags that will prove you're being sold a product, not a lifestyle. So let's get into it. Red flag number 1, the $1,000 luxury red flag. If you see an influencer claiming you can live like a king or queen on a basic social security check, you're looking at a carefully curated lie. It's not impossible to live on a smaller social security check, but it's getting more difficult by the day. Are there people living on their social security abroad? Of course there are, but they aren't living it up in one of the top overrated countries and neighborhoods on a $1,000 social security check. With the $1,000 luxury lie, they're showing you a $400 local apartment that doesn't have air conditioning, maybe it doesn't have reliable water or high-speed internet. Not only that, usually it's a one-off bargain that most expats will end up not finding. We're speaking from our 13 years of living abroad experience, as you may know. Prices are usually moving so fast that by the time you get down there, after watching such a video, such apartments are no longer available. We don't say this gleefully either. But for the Western standards, most of us actually want a nice place with good infrastructure, and that would be the gringo price. For a safe, modern condo, you're looking at around $1,200 to $1,800 easily. That $1,000 budget just became your rent alone. Our own community has been sounding the alarm on this. One viewer recently pointed out that in reportedly affordable Panama, a simple grocery run can now cost more than it does in a mid-sized U.S. city. If the vlogger or writer isn't showing you the price of a gallon of milk or a kilowatt of electricity, they aren't showing you the truth. They're showing you a sales pitch. This is the reality for most people, and especially if moving to any of the top 12 countries that are often promoted on the RAM's Global Index. The top countries, if you're moving to one of the expat communities, you'll find they are all overrated, overpriced, and overcrowded, and that means not cheap. Red flag number 2, it's perfectly safe here. Oh my, do we have something to say about safety and security abroad? If an influencer says a city is just like home, but forgets to mention that they live in a building with 24/7 armed security and haven't walked outside after 8 p.m. in 6 months, they're lying to you. We told our viewers up front the second time we moved to Cuenca, Ecuador, that we rented a condo with 24/7 security, and we told you why. We told you right up front crime was going up in Cuenca, and we didn't want to be the sitting duck foreigners just waiting to get home invaded or robbed. We lived in Cuenca, Ecuador continuously for 8 years, so we were in close touch with the pulse of the area. We've been very clear on this channel. The psychological toll of stealth wealth, always watching your back, hiding your watch, and worrying about being a target, is a reality that many influencers simply edit out of their vlogs to keep the tourism boards happy or their RAM employer happy. Many of our own viewers attest to the fact that it is not safe just about anywhere abroad. They've related horror stories on our videos, and no, it's not petty crime like many in the move abroad fairy tale land like to report to you. Here is what it's really like in Latin America. During the day, everything appears safe. Lots of people are out and about, going to work, going to lunch, catching buses, meeting up with friends. But when it gets dark, everything changes. We happened to be out at night after the sun went down a few times, so it wasn't even completely dark, and it felt like we were in a different country. I said to my family, Do you guys notice something? I said the people dress different at night. They also behave different, and there were no women walking around alone on the streets like you would see during the day, going from their job to maybe to go eat lunch with friends or something. There was only groups of young men wearing hoodies and a few families. This was in El Centro of Cuenca, Ecuador. It was the strangest feeling, and that's when we realized that in Ecuador, there is a big difference between night and day. Red flag number 3, the healthcare bargain. High quality care for pennies is the favorite hook for retirees. Well, for anyone, really. But here's the fine print. Medicare stops at the border. If you have a major emergency, a heart attack, a stroke, a bad fall, you are 100% on your own. We've seen stories in our comments of $100,000 medical bills that wiped out a retirement nest egg in a week because the cheap local insurance had a tiny cap. These cheap foreign plans often have caps or limits as low as $10,000 or $20,000 per year. In a major accident or a chronic illness scenario, you will blow through that limit in the first 48 hours. And one thing that is not necessarily understood is that the out-of-control inflationary spiral that these promoted places go through also affects the price of your visit to a doctor in that hospital. We saw it happen to friends in Cuenca, Ecuador. They were charged $1,000 for a visit for an illness from tainted food. They got food poisoning. That could have been taken care of with some garlic and some fermented foods later to fix up the tummy. And this couple got sick multiple times, so it adds up for someone on even a more robust Social Security check. This is in stark contrast to what is often promoted as cheap medical with less than $100 for a doctor's visit. Real international private medical insurance that actually covers major surgeries and cancer treatments is often comparable in price to USA insurance, sometimes even more expensive as you age. Living abroad can work for some people. Income levels, age, and location makes a huge difference. I'm paying $120 more than my US insurance monthly. $224 in the US and $349 here, thanks to the US dollar dropping like crazy. If they aren't talking about medical evacuations and emergency rooms, they aren't giving you the full picture. One of our viewers shared a cautionary tale about how expats could die in front of the hospital in places like the Philippines if they didn't have the cash up front. But most do not provide medical till cash up front. So being poor, you die in front of the hospital. Philippines provides no medical till payment. Asia is not welfare friendly. Many expat insurance providers will either deny coverage entirely for pre-existing conditions or exclude them from your policy. If you have a heart condition and move to paradise, you might find that the very thing you're most likely to need help with is the one thing your cheap local plan won't cover. Don't kid yourself. These initial visits aren't only to determine the status of your health, but also how fat your wallet is. They can, and they do, conjure out of their magic hat a plethora of problems and ailments, and if they find out, through you, when you fill out their friendly questionnaires, that you are staying long-term and or retiring there, will be mentioning ailments that are chronic and will need regularly scheduled visits, meds, etc., and wanting to milk you out of your dollars. So be careful believing everything you hear about health insurance and medical care in paradise being so wonderful and great. It might not be what you thought. And so where have we heard that before? Let me ask you a question. If you had a medical emergency tonight that required $50,000 in cash to get into surgery, do you have that sitting in a liquid account right now? If the answer is no, you aren't ready to move to a country where healthcare is a bargain. So we highly recommend, before moving to your desired location, that you do your due diligence research about the hospital coverage and the medical services in that country. This way, you will not end up in a desperate situation. Red flag number 4, the easy residency hook. The easy visa. They make it sound like you just show up and get a stamp. Well, it used to be like that, not anymore. This is now one of the biggest marketing lies, with influencers suggesting that getting residency is as simple as showing a bank statement and filling out a form. In reality, it's a bureaucratic minefield designed to keep you in a state of perpetual tourist or fee payer. Some countries in Europe are exploding with potential expats commenting about the difficulty and all the challenges of obtaining residency visas. This is not by accident. The reality? It's a mountain of visa baloney. We're talking about apostilled birth certificates that expire in 90 days, changing income requirements, like we recently saw in Colombia and Portugal, thousands of dollars in legal fees. On top of that, there are some countries like Uruguay that will deny you for just having an unpaid ticket in your home country. Now, how silly is that? They're not all like that, but they're getting harder by the day. Many influencers sell the dream of moving next month, but they don't tell you that your residency can be revoked or denied on a whim by a local clerk who's having a bad day. Let's talk about some of the recent baloney that's going on with residency visas. Number one, the income requirements are changing all the time. How are they changing, that you may ask? They don't tell you that many countries are aggressively raising these numbers to combat gentrification, or that they use a discretionary approval process where a consulate can deny you even if you meet the math. Number two, the facilitator industrial complex. There is a whole industry of fixers and lawyers who charge $2,000 to $5,000, it can be less sometimes, to guarantee residency. The red flag is when the marketing makes it seem like you need these people because the system is too complex. And maybe it is. But these fixers and lawyers are charging $2,000 to $5,000. Often these facilitators are just paying off clerks to be able to skip the lines, leaving you with a residency that might not be fully legal or renewable when that clerk moves on. This could end up being your worst nightmare abroad. On top of that, some of these fixers just spin your wheels and keep putting you off, stringing you along. And a year or two later, you're still being strung along. Nothing has gotten done for you. This happened to us on 2 separate occasions. Number 3, then there's the temporary trap. We just recently talked about this in a video. It's a scheme to keep getting money from you. Many so-called easy residencies are only temporary, 1 to 2 years. The marketing ignores the renewal nightmare. When the rules change halfway through your stay, or you're required to spend 183 plus days in the country becoming a tax resident now, just to keep the visa you moved there for. And it just goes on and on and on. But if you got an easy peasy residency visa from a country, then more power to you. Just saying that for some people, actually for a lot of people, especially who the promotions usually target, it's just not as easy as they make it sound. And moving on to our last red flag, number 5, the silent rotation or revolving door. This is the biggest tell. Watch the influencers who were all in on a country 2 years ago. Suddenly, they stop posting about it and pivot to the next undiscovered paradise that they just moved to. Why? Because the tax laws changed. The local resentment grew, or the referral fees for that specific country dried up, or it just got too expensive, etc., etc., etc. There's a lot of reasons why an influencer leaves. Now they're fleeing the very reality they sold you. Imagine that. If an influencer can't show you a life that lasts more than 24 to 48 months in one spot, why should you risk your entire retirement on their recommendation? We've seen influencers, which are also considered expats, come and go like night and day. It reminds us of our previous video where we showed you that 73% of expats were leaving Spain before the 2-year mark. That is telling and should be looked at a bit closer by anyone who is contemplating a move abroad. Which of these red flags have you spotted lately? Drop the name of the hot destination you're seeing somewhere right now in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Look, I'm not telling you all this to scare you. I'm telling you this because I want you to know up front so you can be better prepared for all this mentally, emotionally, and financially. The reality is, the expat dream isn't dead, but the expat fantasy is. Moving your entire life across an ocean is one of the biggest financial and emotional risks you will ever take. You deserve to go into it with your eyes wide open, not blinded by a hyped up video on a 10-minute travel vlog. Oh, look where we live now. We're so happy and everything's so great. For our newcomers, if you haven't noticed yet, Frank and I have always been about the unfiltered reality. We'll tell it like it is, and we ignore the naysayers because they are just like someone reading a consumer report on something they're shopping for and then saying, "Oh, that's just too negative. I won't listen to that." Does that make any sense to you? But we want you to know about the real prices, real crime, real health care, the real truth of everything, not the glossy magazine or video showing that nothing bad or negative happens, because that's just not the truth. Because when you have the facts, you can make a plan that actually lasts. If a country doesn't work for you, it's not a failure, it's an experience full of memories. And if you decide to stay in the U.S. or return home, like so many in our community are doing right now, that's not giving up. That's choosing a better life over a marketing lie. And if you're tired of the Pied Pipers and you want more of this straight talk, then keep watching our videos. We do appreciate every single one of our viewers on this channel, and we love to get your comments. And if you haven't seen our breakdown of why record numbers of expats are actually headed back to the US right now, click the video on your screen right now. Don't let the marketing win. Get the facts first. We'll see you in the next video. Take care and bye-bye.